What is it actually like working on live mergers and acquisitions, meaning business sales or business acquisitions? I'm going to break it down a little bit because I'm in the middle of a couple very active deals right now. And to tell you the truth, I'm learning a lot from them. And I'm learning things I didn't know before. And I'm being reminded of things that I've learned before. And I just wanted to kind of go through some of this while it's fresh on the mind. And unfortunately, I can't really talk specifics on these deals, just not stuff I'm able to share. But I wanted to just break down three of the kind of lessons that I'm being either reminded of or learning more about as I'm going through these because I am in the middle of deals that are actively changing and actively seeing updates happen. And it's just it's a interesting kind of thing to be going through. So the three things that I'm going to cover in this video hopefully can help you out a little bit if you're new to mergers and acquisitions. Maybe you're going through your first sale, your first business acquisition. Maybe you're in the middle of a little bit of both and just wanting to kind of draw upon someone else's experience, or maybe you aren't really in the middle of either or, but you're just hoping to do this in the future and you want to kind of prepare yourself, or maybe it's something you're considering down the road and you kind of want to understand what you might be getting into. So the three things I'm going to cover are constant change and adaptability. That's a huge one in these deals. That's like a major, major thing that you're going to come across. Second one is going to be contingencies on contingencies. I'm going to kind of break down what I mean by that. And then the third one is going to be renegotiations. These are all things that you're going to face, whether you're in the middle of a business sale or a business acquisition. And these are the types of things that you might not expect before you get into it. Or maybe you have an idea that you might face these things, but you might not be prepared for quite the level of what you're going to face here. So the first one, constant change, adaptability. When you're in the middle of a live deal, things are changing all the time. It could be small things. It could even be big things. The terms of the deal might change, meaning the timeline, the amount of money being exchanged, the way the money is being exchanged, the terms are around all of that. There are a million little variables that can change, and you should be expecting and just understanding that things are going to change very fast. So if you're someone who's not very comfortable with change and you're the type of person where you always just lay out this plan and you can't really roll with the punches, you're going to have a really, really tough time because constant change, moving targets, these are the types of things that in a live active deal are going to just be coming at you constantly. And if you're not prepared for that, if you're not mentally kind of situated and expecting that, then when things inevitably do change very fast and you need to be adaptable, you're just not going to be ready. So I'd put adaptability in there partially as just something that you should expect to need, but it's a requirement to work on mergers and acquisitions. You must be adaptable. You must be prepared to be as adaptable as you can possibly be, because the only guarantee is that there will be change. You're not just going to be presented with, let's say you're selling a business, you're not just going to be presented with an offer one day and the offer doesn't change and nothing about the offer changes and it just smoothly goes through the entire deal process. Things are going to change. Things are going to evolve, and it's going to become a little bit different than what you thought, or the way you thought it was being communicated might change. So you should just be prepared for that. This goes for whether you're selling by yourself or buying a business by yourself, or especially if you're doing it with other people involved. That's when the more you introduce other people, the more this all ramps up, and you should expect even more of it. The next thing is something that you need to be prepared to do because of the constant change and adaptability, which is have contingencies on contingencies. So what do I mean by that? Let's use the example of selling a business. Let's say that you're selling a business and you have this idea of who your buyer is going to be. Maybe someone approached you, maybe you approached them, maybe it's someone you've known for a while, and maybe everything seems perfect. They sign a letter of intent. You sign it because it's a great offer. It's one that you want to take. But then maybe something happens. Maybe they have to back out at the last minute. Things change all the time. I've many, many times experienced thinking that we were on our way to a sale, whether I was a personal stakeholder in the business or I was helping someone sell a business or something. Then all of a sudden a letter of intent gets signed. We start kind of looking a little bit deeper at it. And then all of a sudden they say, you know what, I don't think this is for us. Or, you know what, our capital partner backed out. Or, you know what, we're not prepared. And all of a sudden you just wasted all that time and all that maybe money that you spent trying to get ready for this, and energy that you spent devoting to it to try to be ready for this. And maybe you still want to sell, but if you don't have a contingency plan, maybe meaning you don't have another potential buyer in the background, you're kind of shit out of luck. So you should have contingencies on that. The same thing goes for if you're acquiring a business. If you're married to this one deal and then all of a sudden the seller of the business wakes up one day and says, you know what, I think I really like this business. Actually, I'm having a great time and I was wrong to even think about selling. I want to keep it. Thanks for your interest, and maybe we'll talk another day, but I'm not interested. And you don't have a contingency, that might really set you back. You might have put a lot of time, money, energy. You might have risked relational capital by getting other people involved and getting them excited about the deal. And not necessarily your fault if it falls through and people know what they're getting into. But if you don't have contingencies, then you might have put all that together, that kind of dream team to buy this business and to be able to bring all the pieces in place for nothing. And then all of a sudden you can't do anything with it. So you should have contingencies there too. You just never know what's going to happen as these things all change. And another thing that you should be prepared for, the third thing, and this goes kind of along with the other ones, but just specific to these deals, expect renegotiations. Things will be set forth a certain way at the beginning of the deal, and maybe everyone has a decent understanding of what to expect, but there are going to be renegotiations. It's going to happen. If you get through an entire deal and you have no renegotiations, congrats, you are like the 1%, but the likelihood is you are going to have renegotiations. So don't let it surprise you. Don't let it kill the deal unless the other party is just completely unwilling to be fair and like they're renegotiating something that breaks the deal for you, whether you're the buyer or the seller, meaning it makes it no longer economically viable or makes it something that doesn't make sense for you to do. Then you should just prepare for it and understand there's going to be renegotiations. And how do you prepare for that? You have in mind what you're willing to renegotiate on. You're going to have an idealistic version of how you want the deal to play out, whether you're selling or you're buying. If you're selling, you're going to have a certain price you want to sell for, and set of terms that go with it that you hope to see. And that's your ideal picture. And hopefully you get that. But if maybe you're offered that and then things change a little bit down the road, you also need to know, what is your bottom line? What are you willing to sell for? What terms are you willing to renegotiate on? Because if you haven't prepared for that and you let it just come as a surprise, then the deal, you might end up killing a perfectly good deal that you still would have been happy with because you just didn't know what you were willing to take. And maybe that causes friction. Same thing goes for acquiring a business. Maybe you make an offer and you're happy about that offer, and then the seller comes back and they say, you know what, I know I said yes to this before, but it's my business and I'm going to sell it under the conditions that I'm going to sell it in. And I just don't like this thing that we agreed on. I got to change it, or no deal. That can happen. It's the Wild West. Like it's their business. There's no rules until a purchase agreement is actually signed. So they could come back and say that, and you've got to be ready for those renegotiations. And if you let it come as a surprise to you, then you're going to get caught off guard and you might not know what your bottom line is, or what you're willing to go up to, what you're willing to budge on. So prepare for these things. To sum all of this up, know that there's going to be constant change. You need to be adaptable and ready to face moving targets. You need to have contingencies on contingencies on contingencies, backup plans for every part of it. And you need to be prepared for renegotiations. There are going to be renegotiations, and you need to know what your bottom line is, what you're willing to budge on, and what you're willing to accept changes on and what you're not, so that you can approach it and let the deal continue or decide when to walk away. hopefully that helps you, whether you're considering selling, buying. Reach out to me either way. If it did help you, let me know if you're going through something like this and any part of this rung true with you. And hopefully this can help you in your personal journey, or maybe you just found this entertaining and want to know more about how this stuff works. But this is just stuff that I'm kind of learning and re-experiencing as I'm going through a couple pretty live deals right now.